Okay, today I'm going to discuss the Los Angeles flood that occurred in 1938. The cause of the flooding was storm related. It was from two specific Pacific storms that came across the Los Angeles basin. And because of the storm, it created almost 1 year worth of rain in just a matter of over a few days. And this is one of the largest floods in the history of Southern California. So the magnitude of the Los Angeles flood, um, so from February 27th to March 2nd, there was constant rain from one of the storms from the Pacific, which caused a total of 4.4 inches precipitation. And this first part of the storm caused minor flooding and damaged buildings. And it stopped for a little bit, and then about 10 hours later, on March 1st, a second Pacific storm hit LA, and this one was worse, and it brought another 10 inches of rain and strong damaging winds. And then the storm finally ended on March 3rd, so it lasted from February 27th till March 3rd. And the um, impacted regions were Los Angeles, Orange, and Riverside counties. And then factors that affected the flooding and made it worse was before this storm, Los Angeles actually had a dry spell with no rain. So the climate was really dry, and because of this, the soil was hard. So none of the soil really could absorb the runoff. So it caused a lot more flooding. And also, there was a lot of runoff from mountains, and it was pretty much just going downhill looking for a place to go. So it caused a lot more flooding also. So those are two of the reasons why the flooding was so bad. Um, the societal and economic impacts, of course, since this was one of the biggest floods, it created a substantial amount of damage, about $78 million, which today it would be about 1.42 billion, which is a lot of money. And then over 100 people lost their lives, and more than 5,000 homes and buildings were destroyed. Transportation and communication was cut off because the roads were destroyed, railroads, power lines were cut down, so there's no communication. The bridges, as you can see in this picture, were destroyed, and there were places that were buried like about 6 feet deep in sand and sediment from the flooding. And also, farming and mining operations were destroyed. Um, Adaptation strategies. So civil engineering decisions were made following the flood. There was new flood control provisions, channelization of rivers, like rivers were built deeper and widened with cement at the bottom to help them from flooding as bad as they did in this storm. And then also there are a lot of dams that were built um, to provide protection to the communities, especially those that live downstream. And then streets and sewers were connected to drains along the river so they can be quick at capturing the rain and runoff and moving it away from the streets. And then these were the sources, and that was it about the Los Angeles flood in 1938.